you have to just do it. You could sit back and like have an idea, which I think a lot of people do, but they don't take action on it. And who cares? You could go down in a blaze of glory, right? I mean, it's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Wayne Gretzky. So you have to put yourself out there. You've got to put your product, your imagination into motion in order to create and then have it come out. If it fails spectacularly, okay. If it does fantastic, great, right? But if you remain frozen, you're going to get nowhere quick, and you're going to have a life of regret. and it's better to try than not to try.
Welcome to another episode of Everything Intellectual Property. Today, we have very special guests with us. This dynamic duo has invented a cat shelf that is reimagined. Please help me welcome the co-founders of Your Feline, Brian Vermeire and Kristina Hughes. Hey. How is it going, guys?
Thank you, David, for that intro. I appreciate it.
For sure. And I look at
by Itty Bitty in the frame.
Itty Bitty.
Itty Bitty in the frame. The topic of discussion. Now is it a girl? Is the cat a girl in the frame?
She was found as a solo kitten last year on a church yard, and some gentleman drove 2.5 hours up to us to deliver her because we foster lots of cats and kittens. But I thought she was going to be like a much bigger cat. She was like, David, like this big.
Really?
And we were going to foster and adopt her out, but she really loves it here, and we really love her. So she's part of the family now.
Nice. Because I was going to ask, she is the star of the show here today, along with the frame that she's in. And I guess the first question was going to ask you guys, did you guys always love cats, or is that something that kind of, where did that kind of passion come from?
Okay, so
and I have to say this because I know, and I'm not going to say her name, but I'm not going to. I don't want to get myself in trouble. So, I don't want to get myself in trouble.
Don't. It's not worth it. I grew up a dog guy.
Okay.
I had a dog, an old English sheepdog growing up as a kid. Never had a cat. I barely knew what a cat was. I never saw one in real life. I'm kidding. Until Kristina came along in my life, and she grew up with cats. So, and we were living in an apartment at the time in Los Angeles, and she showed me the way of the cat. And a cat followed us from us walking around. The cat followed us, and then ended up becoming our pet, the first cat I've ever owned. And the rest is history. Once you own one cat, it's like a tattoo, David. You don't just get one tattoo. You get more and more.
You are very accurate with that description, because I have a couple tattoos here. You can see them on the back of the arms, and it was like I was getting one, and I had to stop myself. Like, okay, this is getting too crazy. But
the same
me too. Yeah. But I'm a dog guy, and I'm not sure if I'm allergic to cats or not allergic to cats. It just seems like whatever reason. I don't know. I've always been a dog guy.
Even some people come to us and they say they're allergic to cats, and we say possibly you are allergic to the ugly carpeted cat tree that lives with many cats, full of formaldehyde, full of dust and dander. So it's not the cat.
David, we are on a mission to deforest the world of cat trees.
No, and again, I think that's a perfect segue into your guys' product, the frame. Can you maybe kind of describe kind of the frame, the benefits, and whatnot? Because look, outside of me watching, and this is how much of a novice I am on cats. I never knew a cat tree existed until it came up on Shark Tank. I was like, what? My mind was blown away. I never knew a cat tree existed. So Yeah, can you maybe at least
right,
kind of
Kristina.
explain the cat frame and how it seems like that was kind of birthed from you guys out of maybe not liking or whatever the cat tree?
Yeah. So there is an upper shelf and a lower shelf that mount to your wall into your studs with just 4 screws. Notice the shelves are floating shelves. There's no ugly brackets here. And then connecting each shelf is a beautiful gallery-worthy frame. We have 5 different frame styles. The bottom is also carpeted, so cats can scratch in here, sleep, play, judge you, David, purr. And then the beauty is there are artwork panels that can slide in and out. So they're interchangeable. So we have our cat Itty Bitty here in the lilac fields of Bloom Farm in Acton, California. But now we can send her to Paris. She doesn't need to get on a plane, but she can be sent all around the world, even to outer space.
And so we have holiday themes. We've got landscapes. We've got fantasy category. We have over 1,000 images to choose from, and it's only going to keep growing. Soon you will see the masters, where we have Renoir and Monet and Van Gogh that will go on your wall that your cat will hang out with. So yeah, this is a lot of stuff you didn't get to see.
Yep.
In the chat.
And let me ask you this: does the cat actually maybe? Obviously, I would imagine that they notice the actual picture that's in the frame, but does that kind of affect them? Does that provide an additional benefit to the cat, whether or not they're maybe kind of happier with certain images outside of others?
A lot of cats do not like costumes, and during the holidays a lot of people like to dress their cat up with a hat or a scarf or a coat. We were those people many years ago. We tried to dress our cats in Christmas dresses,
and when you put it on, like
cats,
Petco, PetSmart, all of those big brand, Chewy, they sell these costumes, and when you put the costume on the cat just kind of falls over. They just don't like it.
As cats cannot stand.
So there's a backdrop for
this.
Oh. Yeah. So why dress your cat in an itchy, disgusting, gross outfit that they hate when all you have to do is change the background? And that's why our Halloween is our biggest seller by far with regards to backdrops, because cat people love Halloween, apparently. There you go.
So let me ask you this, because you talked about the cat tree. So what was it about the cat tree that just was a no-go for you?
Well, I think most cat owners would agree they are hideous. They're disgusting. They're carpeted. They're full of dust, mites. They get gross. A cat throws a hairball on it. It just starts to stink. And then when you try to clean it, the problem is it's made out of a pressed wood that's full of formaldehyde. Most people don't know that. Most people don't know that they inject formaldehyde into these products, and most of them are made in China, and it stinks. We cleaned our tree once and regretted it forever. I can still smell it in my head. And it's
we were gifted a powder blue ugly carpeted cat tree in our old apartment.
Oh.
At our first home, we knew we're big fans of this guy named Jackson Galaxy. He's a big cat expert. And he is the one who said, you've got to give your cats vertical space if they're inside, or else they're going to scratch your furniture. They're going to pee on things. They're going to be violent to your home if they don't get their energy out. So we have to give them this vertical space.
And cats naturally, you don't even have to train your cat to get in this, because as soon as you attach it to your wall, their natural instinct is to go. And then what happens is they end up spending lots amount of time in there because they feel like they're in a box.
They feel safe.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. One of the great things I love about doing these interviews is I learned a ton of stuff about things that I otherwise would have not known. and I interviewed someone who, it was a cat product. It was more or less a litter box, but it was a nice furniture piece as well. And I learned that cats love being kind of like elevated, raised. They don't, maybe this was to your guys' point of, cats don't like necessarily just kind of walking around on the ground surface all the time. They like to, I forget, it was a term that she used. Man, I forget the term, but they like to be elevated, which is something that I did not know of beforehand.
Yes.
Yes.
And this gives them absolutely the vertical space they crave. And then they just love looking out at you, and they become unwittingly posing for you, and you get the best pictures, you get the best video of your cat that you could imagine, because it's just their natural instinct is to just hang out. Yep.
And if your home has like a kid with noisy toys, like when we moved to our home, Jackson, our son, who's now 8, he was 18 months old, and he had like these noisy toys, trains, VTech things. Our cats want to get away from that. So they could be in the same room as him, but they could go up and be away. Same with dogs. Some people have cats. They want to have dogs. We say, if you have a dog, you've got to give the cat somewhere up above the dog so that they can escape when they want to.
No, that makes perfect sense. One of the cool things about entrepreneurship is like, it's not a one size fits all thing. So for example, you have a lot of maybe technical or professionals that say, okay, they have invent a product, and next thing you know, they're becoming an entrepreneur, starting a business, and kind of selling their product or providing a service. And it seems like kind of just doing some background homework. Kristina, you are have the bachelor of arts, so kind of more of a creative stand-up comic, which I thought was interesting. I did not know that, as well as a producer. And Brian, it seems like you, much like me, my kind of background is mechanical engineering at Michigan State University. Went on to go to law school there, but it seems like you up in Canada studied mechanical engineering. So at what point kind of brought you guys in? It seems like you have some other stuff on like websites and stuff. Go ahead.
Let me bring you up to speed. David.
Okay.
So the engineer with the last name Vermeire, that rhymes, the engineer is my dad, Bill Vermeire, who we came to when we came up with this idea, that conceived the idea.
Yep.
We immediately were like, we got to rope my dad in, because he is an engineer. He would let's describe it
on your wall.
Yeah. How do you make it safe for your cat, and how do you do all this? So we talked to him about this, and then we just kind of ended the conversation. And then he was like 2 months later, he said, "Hey guys, I have something in the mail for you." And that was the very first iteration of Feline. Yeah. Right. And so from that, we had to keep iterating and figuring out how, you got to make it wider, got to make it taller, got to make it fit most cats, right? Big cats, small cats, fat cats, whatever they may be. And then safety. That is the utmost importance for us, is making sure that it is rock solid against your wall.
But the install is easy, that it's easy to do the install the right way. We had our 1.0 version. I did the install video. I had never, ever even touched a drill before. I did not know what to do. And Brian produced it because it was during COVID. We had to shoot this video in our kitchen.
And she did a great job.
And it was like, wow, that's so
easy.
Why have I been so afraid?
So that's my dad. My expertise is creative. I do logo design, I do website design, I do video editing, and so we lean into each other's strengths in order to really kind of rise to the occasion that this product can become what we know it will be.
No, and that's great. Like I said, I definitely appreciate you correcting me, because I saw mechanical engineering, and it seems like that was your dad, and not you. But and it seems like, because I know from Shark Tank, you guys had the website companies and multiple companies. Did you guys always have this entrepreneurial kind of mindset or spirit, or is that something that kind of was developed over time?
We both have performing backgrounds.
Okay.
I have never worked like a job in an office before. I have always just been doing some type of performing, whether I was a Coors Light Silver Bullet girl doing promotions, or a Hawaiian Tropic model, or doing regular television commercials, hosting, that sort of thing. Like I've always just been doing that. And then when Brian and I met, we just like, we both are very creative. We wrote a script together. We have a company that caters to the performing industries. It's called Hold and Log. It helps performers log, track, and manage their career. So we help actors who are creative work with the business side, the stuff that the actors don't want to do.
Right. Yeah.
You have to have a 50-50. If you're 90% being creative and 10% business, you're probably going to fail. So we have an online web application. We have log books that help performers. And then because of owning a business, we had to work on our website and we had to learn about social media. So we've kind of just thrown ourselves into that. We didn't go to school for it. We've just been learning and relearning.
As you go. Learning as you go. No, the reason I was saying that is because it seems like, entrepreneurship maybe back in 90s or early 2000s, it was like this taboo thing. If you couldn't figure kind of life out, you just told people you were an entrepreneur. But now you see like engineers or kind of doctors or people who have kind of like real jobs, so to speak, where they do go into an office or do something, saying, okay, I'm done with this. I have an ideal. I have a product that I want to sell and become an entrepreneur. So it's almost like people with these kind of real jobs are kind of quitting them and becoming entrepreneurs, whereas that just wasn't the case maybe 10, 30 years ago.
I think it's because of people like you, David. Like, because when you're, I think people were working their 9-to-5 jobs for decades, had dreams of doing something that they had, but they didn't know how to start, what to do, how to go forward. And it's scary, right? But when you have somebody like yourself who explains IP, who explains this in a relatable way, right? Where now I grasp onto, okay, so I need to do that if I'm going to start this business. And I can look at this other YouTube channel and I can figure this part of the business. Yep. So now it's not so scary. It kind of reminds me, we have an 8-year-old son and we homeschool our kid. If you told me 10 years ago we'd be homeschooling our kid, I would have said, you're nuts. You're nuts. But things change over time.
Yep.
And so, I think we're at a point in the world where the creativity is what's going to keep you alive. Along with AI coming around, and it's going to start yanking people's jobs left and right. Creativity is going to be your golden ticket to sustaining, right?
No, and I love everything that you just said, and I think that's one of the things that maybe is going to be difficult for AI to replace is the creativity of people like Brian. They're going to like Brian because of kind of his style, his swagger, all that it entails. And the same thing with Kristina. And AI is going to be hard to replace that, as opposed to it can really replace in just scheduling and maybe some of the more kind of routine tasks and that a lot of people jobs are at this point.
And AI cannot replace this. Aww. Right? In real life, living art on your wall. So it's how do you think outside the box, right? And literally thinking outside the box led us to sticking our cat in a box. Okay. But yeah, I think I have to tell you, David, you were the first person I thought of this morning.
Okay.
You ready for this? This morning, I got confirmation that our trademark is now registered.
That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
It only took over a year for it to finally cycle through the pipeline.
And that's kind of long. Sometimes the average is around like 9 months, give or take a couple months. But I mean, I guess it's not out of the ordinary to have a year. But the fact that you're protecting that intellectual property, hey, that kind of brings a smile to my eyes. And I think, a great segue going into like the rest of the IP, the patents. I think on Shark Tank, you mentioned patent pending. When you look at it, you just look at it as a frame. But I mean, obviously, I would imagine that it's some other features in there such that, it can get you over the hump from a patent standpoint. So I guess with all that being said, again, I would imagine you guys are from that kind of creative world. And it seems like from the creative standpoint, copyrights are a big thing when you're talking about movies and shows and things like that. Patents, it seems like it's more for inventions or whatnot. So I guess as it relates to IP, particularly patents and even trademarks, when did you guys first kind of come into the know of that? Because I interview a lot of people. And it seems like they're kind of going, it's like trial by fire about this IP stuff, which again is different because you're trying to run the day-to-day operations of a business, but you got this IP thing going on in the background that you have to kind of take serious. And a lot of people, end up missing a mark, or kind of the school of hard knocks a lot of the times as it relates to different forms of IP. Was that the case for you all, or did you already kind of know about kind of IP coming into it, or kind of what was your first introduction to IP?
Yeah. So I'm going to go deep back.
Okay. Let's do it.
Back in time. I'm going to get my DeLorean and I'm going to go 88 and we're going to get there. So when I was a kid, my dad is also an entrepreneur and invented things. And I got to see firsthand about the whole patent process and learn about that as a young kid.
Yeah.
Fast forward to the early 2000s, I was hosting a show online. It was one of the earliest
web shows.
Okay.
Like a streaming show. And I was picking up Kristina.
It's called Girls Locker Talk, right? Was that?
No. I was a writer, but I hosted these. I hosted a bunch of different shows, but one was called Girls Locker Talk.
It sounds like that's a good show in my book. That seems like that's an amazing show to be a part of. From Brian's perspective, at least.
So
it was edgy.
So they were having a big, remember the big .com boom, right? And these parties were outrageous as far as the launch parties for this one network. So, and it was called Wire Break at the time. And
right.
Yeah, I remember that. So, I was on my way to pick up Kristina to go to the launch party for this network. And I was at a red light and I look up at the billboard and I see this advertisement for a show to watch on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. on NBC Channel 4, right? And so I'm like, here I am. I'm doing a show or shows on this Wire Break network. And it's not just local. This could be seen anywhere, right? How are people going to find me? So I'm thinking about it and I'm like, how come we haven't channelized the web? And so then I devised this idea of a code and a number and channelizing the web, creating a remote control that worked with your computer that you could flip through channels. Yeah. But this is before YouTube. This is before Netflix. This is before all of that. And got people on board, got some really heavy hitters in the entertainment industry on board, got angel investors. So kind of I've learned through that. And then also we were up against a patent against Gemstar, which owns TV Guide. And they were coming after us because they were saying, hey, you're encroaching on our property because we had an on-screen guide. Okay. And they owned TV Guide. And we said, no. Our guide is on the screen. Yours is on paper. Big differentiation. We won.
Really?
Yeah, we beat Gemstar. And so having that knowledge and having gone through all of that, you get to the point of doing this and you're like, okay, we need to do this. We need to do this. We need to do this. Right. It's kind of like the confidence level. You gotta earn the confidence. Yep. Right. Yep. And so anyway, going through the motions, knowing what we needed to do and just getting it done. But the tech drawings that we had to do for this, and it's crazy because I have more paperwork to send in regarding our patent next week.
This is kind of funny.
Are you ready for this?
No, yeah.
Okay. So we have to rebut them because they showed us images of a product that's similar to ours that is a problem, but the pictures are of our product
on our wall,
on the
mantle, in the image.
Well, where did they pull it from? It had to be on the internet or something.
Yes.
And it's our product.
Right.
When was it? Was it because it seems like you can be, obviously if it's your product and it's within a year, which actually brings up another good point, but I'll kind of save that for later. It seems like you should kind of be able to get over that because it's like, okay, a common assignee, we own that. So it's not like you're, but again, it has to be, go ahead.
Yeah, so we have to clear that up and be like, that's I think that they screenshotted a YouTube video that was our video.
When was the video? When was the video put out there on YouTube?
I want to say it was our channel, but I don't. It's insane. Anyway, I'll have to show it to you because you might get a chuckle out of.
But it was funny because we started all of this during COVID, and they're like, "Oh, it's under delay. It's under delay." And
Gotcha.
come on. And then we had like sent some emails, and then someone was like, call, one of our advisors was like, call and find out who is attached to your case. And we finally called, and and we got through. And this was when the person said, oh, we just sent something.
We just sent it.
So I walked out to the community mailbox, and there was this huge envelope. And we're like, this is so strange because we've been waiting like how long for this, you know? Because we wanted to go on Shark Tank and go have our patent, and it's not pending, but we couldn't. And lo and behold, there it is. And we say, okay, great, we're going to open up the envelope. We'll get back to you. And then we open it up. We're like, oh my gosh, this is our product. This is our wall. This is our mantle. Like, it's my hand or something in the screen. So yeah, it's painful.
Oh man, that's interesting. And no, yeah, and what I was going to say was typically if something is outside, it's an exception when you're at least on the utility side of things, when you're an examiner at the USPTO cites prior art against you, and if the prior art is owned by kind of you or the same company, then you can a lot of times get around that by the common owner exception, which is there. But again, it has to be within certain time periods that
yes, have a deadline to resubmit.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, a lot of this stuff is kind of deadline dependent or time dependent, which is interesting. So it seems like it's still pending. You have to send in some paperwork to try to kind of argue it or rebut this your own product, which is all interesting.
I have to refute that, and I have some tech drawings I have to have cleaned up.
Gotcha.
Then we should be good. But it's just a painful process, you know. You just got to go through it.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think kind of being on the other side of it, having gone through it, having got an issue patent for times, as you just said, when you're going against somebody, and you have a patent, and you can be able to enforce it as well as maybe kind of get some money from investors. It kind of all seems like works out in the end.
Yep, 100%.
So then I know you had mentioned the whole Shark Tank experience. So what was the point where you guys were like, okay, we have to go on Shark Tank and get this really out to the masses, and maybe even look to try to get a deal on this thing?
Okay, so when we developed this product, we've been watching Shark Tank forever.
Since the beginning.
Okay, and when we put our first iteration on our wall, and we saw how fast the cats just took to it, we didn't have to do anything.
Oh, so you just put it on the wall, and it's almost like something was pre-programmed in them. Like, okay, I can utilize it.
Yeah, right. No, and I say that in the pitch. I say no training needed, because it is just their natural instinct to do exactly this. Become a loaf on your wall, right? They just sit there and they look at you. There you go. But when we put it on the wall and we saw our cat in it, it literally gave me goosebumps. I was like, this is amazing. Like, it looks so, it really freaks your brain out.
Right.
In fact, we had somebody who came here and we had it on our wall, and we didn't talk to them about what we were working on. And when they walked by, they were like, what am I looking at? It freaks your brain out. Barbara said, I think it was Barbara who said, it's freaky.
It's creepy.
Yeah.
It's kind of creepy. And honestly, they all talk over each other. We never even heard her say that until we edit, because we would have said, why?
Yeah.
It was very hard to concentrate with everybody talking over each other.
So when we saw it, we looked at each other like, this is just a natural for Shark Tank. Like, because Shark Tank gets a lot of the same stuff, clothing, food.
Yep.
So it starts to become a treadmill of the same sort of ideas and whatnot.
Yep.
And we know that this is a great idea, and it's a different kind of product. Yeah.
But when Brian's dad had sent us this prototype that we, like good entrepreneurs in California, we installed it in the garage. We were like, it's too small, it's too this. And the wood on the frame was just like a handmade frame, right? And I had wanted to do reclaimed wood, but the integrity of that product, it's going to fall apart. You can't mass scale, reclaimed wood from a barn from 100 years ago. But Brian's dad had this great idea, and that was the artwork panels. And we knew that the sharks love more money, multiple revenue streams. So not only can we switch out the art, and people would want to do this for holidays, seasons, to change up, your room, you want a photograph, you want an art painting, but then the frame styles can swap out. So this is one of 5 different styles: a gold version, a silver version,
it's all interchangeable. So once you have it, you can change the frame, you can change the art, you can do all that. So
we knew like it was going to be a Shark Tank goal. We wanted to get there, right? And we have done pretty extraordinary things like in our lives, like hosting. I was Miss Connecticut in the Miss USA system. So we're fine. Whole pitch and video, that's not to us, we got it.
But for anybody getting on Shark Tank,
it's not for the faint of heart.
It is a lot of work. I don't know if David heard how much work it is.
Yeah, and I'm almost like the unofficial podcast of I interview a lot of guests who've been on Shark Tank. I was actually down in January in Tampa, Florida, where they, like the alumni Shark Tank kind of members, get together and they kind of just share kind of different tips and trends and things like that that's going on from the business front, social media, manufacturing, different things like that. And I kind of set up shop and was able to kind of double as not only the podcast, but also it's like an IP attorney, or a patent attorney, which was pretty cool. It was like a 3-day event down in Tampa, Florida, which was pretty cool to be a part of.
No, that's awesome. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ryan.
No. Go ahead. You were going to say.
I was going to ask you. So then, did you guys decide? Because I know a lot of times it almost runs the gamut as far as sometimes the producers at Shark Tank come kind of looking for you guys, or sometimes people apply over and over again until they kind of break through. So it kind of runs the gamut between kind of how it goes to kind of get on the show. And then to your point about the work, I mean, it seems like one guy I interviewed, he was like, man, it actually is cool because it kind of really you have to have a real business because they're kind of getting really granular and detailed in terms of the information that they want you to provide to them.
Yes. Yeah. So the person to blame is Kristina, because she's the one who came into the office over there and she said, Brian,
this was December of 2023.
December 2023. She goes, Brian, they're doing an open casting call in Las Vegas for Shark Tank. In January, we should go. And I said, I am not going to stand in line with a bunch of weirdos waiting to, with misfit products and weird stuff, And then she goes, well, then fine. We're going to now sit here and we're going to fill out the form online. Right now. And I said,
okay.
So
some coffee, bring your chair over.
So we filled it. It's not much.
That was nothing.
Boom. We did it, submitted it, forgot about it.
And we happened to be going to, it's called Cat Fanciers Association. It's a worldwide. Mark Cuban and those guys laughed at us about cat trade shows and cat pop-ups. They missed this huge opportunity because Cat Fanciers Association has events all over the world for cat breeds and cat training and cat products and cat fans. And we were on our way to San Diego, and we had just gotten like the prototype for the new version, the mass manufactured version.
So we're just about to leave. It's late January of 2024. And in my inbox is this email, and it says like, hey, we want to learn more about you and your product. And it said sharktank.tv. And I was like, this is spam. I threw it in the trash. I threw it right in the trash, and I started going through my other mails, having my coffee in the morning. And then I don't know what it was, but something in my head said, wait a second. wait, we did submit online. So I went back, retrieved the email, looked up the person's name,
The casting producer.
and it checked out. I'm like, I think this is legit. So I call Kristina and I'm like, hey, Kristina, I think this is like an email from Shark Tank. And she's like, we'll schedule the meeting. So I scheduled the meeting. We had a meeting with that producer. Totally nice. They wanted us to send our product. We said, we'll drop it off.
We're local. We'll drop it off. Because we're also like, oh, it gets us on the lot. We might run into a director we know. Or like, no. Like everybody else, you have to mail it. We're like, okay.
So we shipped them the product, and then they got back to us, and they're like, hey, we want to schedule a meeting again with you. And then that was week after week after week. Like,
Really?
So paperwork, phone calls.
Can you shoot a video of this?
Can you do this? And then and then you don't know when the ride ends. So like we would read these emails. Some would say like, hey, Brian and Kristina, hope all's well, ! Hey, do you have time on Thursday for a quick Zoom, blah, blah, blah. And like, okay, yeah, great. But then we would get emails that just says, hi, what is your availability on Tuesday from 10 to 11? Are you available? And it's like, and that's it. And you're like, oh, this must be it. Like they're going to just,
say goodbye.
So every week you're just like, are we going forward? Are we going to keep moving forward? And
in the middle of this, we're getting ready for cat shows. We're homeschooling our son. We're fostering these cats and kittens,
But you were right. What it does, the show is fantastic because it's like business school. You really now take your product and you're refining things. You're going, okay, well, what if the sharks say this? What do we do then? How do we answer that question? Figure it out now, right? And so one of the big things, David, was when on our version 1.0, the frame was already made and complete, okay? And the artwork, the frame, everything was in a huge box. It was the shipping was insane.
It was made out of wood, so it was really heavy.
We were having issues with sometimes the corner would pop off in shipment, we'd have to replace that, right?
Wow.
So we were like, well, how do we figure this out? Well, also we were thinking of like, because Damon is part of Petco Charities.
He was. I think it was. But
okay.
We're like,
I didn't realize it.
We want to do something with Damon because he's an expert in licensing. That's what he says, right? And we have people who want their colleges, their sport teams as artwork panels. So, or also like Disney and Universal, like people want X-Men and their frames in their kids' rooms and stuff. So we were like, okay, that like, if it was the regular 5 sharks, who would we want to work with and why? What's their background? If it's like a guest shark, who would we want as our guest shark or sharks?
And so in thinking about Damon, and if this was to go in a store like Petco, it can't have a huge footprint. We have to trim the footprint down. And so what we figured out, and the best way for shipping too, is that the frames now come as kits. They're called feline frame kits. Okay. Now you get the kit of the frame style of your choice that comes with the whole frame your feline set. Okay. But the kit is now, it's the 4 legs, the 4 legs of the frame. And we have all the legs are pre-pilot hold, right? And
it's really easy to put together.
So it's easy. And the braces, it comes with the braces, the screws, and you just screw tight.
And we even getting the drill bit
for when you install. But I'm just saying for the frame itself, now the customer can do the work just to make the frame solid, okay? And we don't have to ship it that way. And it solved a lot of issues that we had in trying to ship it big. And so anyway, so that was a big thing we figured out, only because we were thinking like, what are the sharks going to come at us with, right? So it and also all the paperwork and all the financials and figuring out the best return that we can get, and how do we broaden our margins but not cheapen the product.
Right.
Our whole thing is quality, quality, quality. And something we tried to get through to the sharks that unfortunately they just weren't listening to what we were saying is the market for premium cat furniture is monstrous.
Yeah.
And we at $299,
We're actually at the bottom.
we're at the bottom for
Really?
yes,
Yeah.
for modern cat furniture pricing.
And-
We're at the bottom. And we
You bring up a good point, because I was actually looking at cat trees when they were talking about it on the show, and I'm like, I didn't realize a cat tree was that, hundreds of dollars.
Oh.
Who knew? So
We were looking at one yesterday with metal and leather that's like sculpture, right? Like that's something beautiful, like the frame that you would want in your home, selling for $1,800.
really,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't have children, and their pets are their kids.
Yeah.
They want to put that money into it. But also, if you're like us and you do have kids, you're so tired of buying crap, most of it from overseas, that you install or your cats use and it falls apart or it's dangerous.
Yep.
We have this four-legged, it's like a cat bed dome that we got from Petco. It was selling for $160. We got it on clearance for $130. Our cats do like it, but if we put it in a room that has carpeting, the bottom is unstable and it flips over, and we've had a cat like hit another cat.
oh really?
We have these really cool towers that are suspended from your ceiling to your floor based on pressure. Yep. And they become wobbly and they fall. They've hit our fan in our kitchen. They've hit other cats. They've hit our coffee maker, the counter. And Brian's like, screw this. No, all we're doing is using this part of the scratcher part of the bottom of the tower. That was a $300 investment in garbage.
David, we paid $4.99 for a exercise wheel for the cats. It's like this big wheel that the cats can run on.
Yep.
We did all the training videos.
We did all the training videos. Not one cat wants to get in it. It's like repellent. It's like the cat does not want to go in on this thing. Would not work. Total like waste of money. Way more than what our frame costs. So
Yep.
when when Lori said the $49.95 comment, that like to me is a reckless throwaway price when I had just explained that it costs $170 to manufacture.
Right. Yeah.
And we don't know where she got that number, and I would love to ask her, because you can get a litter box for $50.
But and I think a lot of times, and I'm not sure if kind of Lori or Barbara for that matter, kind of deal with cats. It seems like Damon is a little bit more in the know on things, but a lot of times, and I always say it on my kind of show when I'm kind of doing the reaction videos. Hey, the sharks are great business people, but that doesn't mean that they're experts in everything. I think one time at Raquel Graham, who was kind of back a couple seasons ago on Shark Tank, I think Lori was telling her, because they were saying that the patent was taking too long, and it was probably Lori was telling her it wasn't going to get awarded or issued, and she was about to fire her patent attorney as a result of that. But her patent attorney told her the same thing I did. Like, sometimes the USPTO, which is a branch of the federal government, just takes a long time. You just said that it took maybe over a year for your trademark application. So that's not anything that we can do about it. It just, again, you're dealing with the federal government, and we all know that the federal government doesn't move so fast. So, but she is literally about to fire her patent attorney as a result of that. So I'm saying all that to say that I think, like, with the price and whatnot, maybe particularly Lori and Barbara just kind of throwing some things out there, not knowing that, hey, this stuff is not, it costs. And again, like you said, it's still on the lower end of things. But I guess with all that in mind, what do you think from your guys' perspective is needed to kind of really take it to the next level? Obviously, being on Shark Tank, getting the awareness out, and the fact that you're able to kind of broadcast the product to millions of people around the world, I would imagine that helped out. But what do you guys think from your perspective is a thing? Because it is a great product. It is, like you said, it's priced lower compared to maybe what's out there that's not as effective, to say the least. So what do you guys think is kind of missing, or is that next step to say, okay, we hit a home run and, hey, they're buying it off the shelves like hotcakes?
Your question is fantastic, because it feeds into what this product is. It's a visual product. It is also an emotion-based product. When a cat owner sees their cat in a frame, it's something changes. It literally, it's magical. And I said that on the show. you see something that your brain is trying to comprehend, and it's just it's amazing. And we have our first wave of product that's about to push out to
We're shipping out orders.
We're shipping out orders, and when these people get them and put them on their wall, you're going to see a lot of people posting on their Instagram, their socials. This is naturally made to become viral for different people when they post their videos and pictures and whatnot up there. We
have done no advertising so far because if we got a lot of orders, we couldn't fulfill them. So that
got you
dealing with our manufacturer.
Yeah, because you're talking about the virality of things, Brian. I'm like, this thing will be perfect for TikTok.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that was kind of the thing with our episode. I'm going to bring us back into the tank for a moment, which is we were in there telling them, because they harped on our price point. I mean, and not the price point, but they've harped on our financials. Okay. Oh, you made only $10,000. Oh, you only made $12,000. You're making hundreds of dollars, right? And on the edit, that's what they really focused on. And what we were trying to convey to the sharks was, we can't sell what we don't have to sell. My dad is 80 and we're making them one at a time.
Yeah,
and that's if we were like dealing on Shark Tank. We had just found the manufacturer, right? And so anyway,
we were trying not to focus on the numbers and focus on the fact that we actually have a product that's gone through alpha, beta. We're moving forward. Those were like prototypes, and now we're ready to hit the ground running. It was like, oh, and then Lori says, "Oh, you guys work from home?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're really lucky to be able to work from home. A lot of people want to work from home, and we're really focused on this product because we don't sleep. We're working or with our kid, and then we work again.
So anyway, I think the way that people saw it on the show was that we were out there actively selling our product and only making 10,000 and not selling.
That's part that. Yep. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Not what happened. What happened was we could not promote, we could not sell because we were only making one at a time. And that was kind of like us going into the tank saying, hey, if we get an investment, we can now go to the manufacturer and now make more than what our initial first run is going to be, and
renegotiate
and talk about licensing, talk about all that stuff. So anyway, then the $49 comment, and then it was just the wheels.
It went off the rails from there.
It was sad because it was really disruptive the first weekend. Like, so many people on social media going, "They're right. How could you not agree with them? You should always agree with the shark." And we're like, because they weren't listening. And Lori had actually gotten up during our segment and went to the frame, and we were so focused on Mark Cuban bantering with us, I didn't even realize she was 3 feet away from us. And then she's like, "Wow, this is a really beautiful quality. This is great." But people didn't see that. They edited that out also. So it's like, it's hard because you want to rebut people, right, who are on their little keyboards on their phones saying you are wrong and this is too expensive. But how much can you say that? So we just go, you know what, we're going to keep putting on a great product. Somebody has ordered 18 frames from us to put in their home to make a museum of all their black cats. 18. That's going to be amazing.
So, and again, it seems like from what I'm hearing, the only criticism, and again, trust me, dealing with the internet kind of guy or gals, it's kind of tough to kind of beat them. It's the reason why they say the internet is always undefeated. It seems like these people just typing away in their mom's basement or whatever the case may be, negative things under your comment. But it seems like, kind of from what I'm hearing, the only kind of realistic or fair criticism that if at all should have been had by the Shark Tanks is maybe you're too early for an investor, if anything. As opposed to maybe the price point or the quality, because the quality was there. Clearly, the price point is like on par with and below kind of what's out there for these type products. So it seems like, if anything, it was maybe the fact that you're maybe too early to get an investment, but again, you're kind of looking, it's almost like the chicken or the egg type things. Like, okay, we need the money to kind of get the product, and you're saying, hey, you need to sell product. Where you're like, we need the money to get the product. So I'm with the chicken or the egg type thing. Let me ask you this. Well, how did it maybe kind of cross your mind in terms of like maybe doing a pre-sale? And I'm not sure how that would have worked as far as, I know you guys have the websites in terms of saying, hey, kind of order these things. I know you kind of did the Kickstarter as well, but order these, and that'll give us the money to be able to kind of buy the first kind of.
We do have pre-sale right now on the site, where starting on May 26th, we're going to be doing waves of just shipping out orders every 2 weeks. We're going to be we're at the tail end of the first wave for people. The next will be in the second wave. But what we're looking at, because we've secured another manufacturer.
Nice.
Inside scoop, new news.
But you're putting this on YouTube right now, so right, we didn't get there.
Well, you'll see.
But we'll come back and talk about that
another time. But anyway, all is good, David. All is good. Things are moving.
This is going to take a little longer, but we're very optimistic. We've got a lot of events coming up. We have a challenge in trying to figure out how to make our trade show materials portable, because we literally set up a wall and we install these frames. So for shipping to Chicago or Florida to do a cat show, or Seattle, like there's some things to drive to, but and that's what we wanted to use some of the money for too, was to go to people who have their expertise in trade show booths and go, bam, I can get this done for, $5,000, $10,000, and it's easy to transport or ship. So we're just gonna have to figure that out on our own.
Nice. No, yeah, and again, I think that was a great segue into the next question. Just a few more questions here for you guys. What would you say? And it seems like you maybe answered it with maybe the manufacturing or kind of that side of things. Is, we all know business is not like just a constant path upward. You have the ups and the downs, more like a sine wave. So 2-part question: what would you say is the biggest breakthrough that you guys had at this point in time with the business? And then on the flip side of that, what was the biggest challenge that you guys had to overcome?
At the beginning, well, there was a hurdle, a big challenge. Oh, you'll appreciate this, actually. And so will all of your fans. So when we launched our website for Frame Your Feline, our selection of artwork panels was paltry, to say the least. And we really had to figure out about art and copyright.
Oh, yes.
And securing rights for artwork. And it's a whole nother animal we had to learn about IP, especially with buildings. Okay. So we do have on our site, we have pictures of the Eiffel Tower that people can have their cats have a background. The Eiffel Tower. Okay. We can sell pictures of the Eiffel Tower if the picture was taken during the day. If the picture of the Eiffel Tower is at night, we cannot sell it. Now, you may wonder, why is that?
Yeah, for sure.
The reason is because the lighting that lights up,
the light show of the Eiffel
of the lights on the Eiffel Tower are copyrighted.
Gotcha. Now, I guess that makes sense as I'm thinking it out in real time.
So we can't do that. Now, if we want to sell the skyline of New York City, that's fine. But if we wanted to sell a picture of the Empire State Building as the main focus, no can do, because that is copyright. It's copywritten.
And I'm surprised that the Eiffel Tower is not like a copyright, just whether it's at day or night.
The lights, that's
the lights. So we have some mentors who went over this, who are big attorneys and actually educators at Yale, I think it is. Who were like, let me save you some of this struggle. So curating, we now have over 1,000 images, which are from award-winning watercolor painters, artists, hobbyists, photographers. We have some art that we've taken that is on the website. Watch out for Skippy.
It's
and we have a whole series of neon art coming up, photos, because we live in a big agriculture area. We have some artists who have like cherry trees and blossoms of like lemon trees and stuff like that people want in their kitchens.
And then we also have a whole new category called the Masters, which is about to come out. So people can have with their cat Renoir, Van Gogh, Matisse, the Masters, because the mess has you're allowed to take these high res images and you can sell them because they're out of copyright. So it's really interesting to when you look at copyright law and IP law and how that can affect just something as simple as the backdrops.
For sure.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. And again, that's kind of goes into, I think you were talking about it, Brian, in terms of the importance of IP and just kind of really understanding it and whatnot, because this stuff, number one, is valuable, but it can kind of affect you either negatively or positively, depending on what end of the spectrum you are on. Let me ask you this, we wrap up for the day. What advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs? It seems like you two have a ton of things going on between the shelter and the websites, and then obviously Your Feline. So what advice would you give to aspiring entrepreneurs who kind of maybe want to kind of get off into entrepreneurship, whether it's with a service or a product that they want to kind of provide to the world, but they're kind of hesitant for whatever reason? I see, like I said, you guys have kind of did it over and over again. So what advice would you give to that person who may be watching?
I think you can't, you have to just do it. You could sit back and like have an idea, which I think a lot of people do, but they don't take action on it. And who cares? You could go down in a blaze of glory, right? Yeah. I mean, it's you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, right? Wayne Gretzky. So you have to put yourself out there. You've got to put your product, your imagination into motion in order to create and then have it come out. If it fails spectacularly, okay. If it does fantastic, great, right? But if you remain frozen, you're going to get nowhere quick, and you're going to have a life of regret. and it's better to try and than not to try. And so,
and I will say, David, one thing is you have to be resourceful as an entrepreneur. All kinds of people are going to come at you and go, for $1,000, we'll help you with this. For $5,000, we'll help you with your PR, with your affiliates, with your marketing. Ever since we've been on Shark Tank, people are emailing us. They all want, to be a part of it. So some people have a great expertise, and you have to delegate and designate. That's a big part of being an entrepreneur. But when you're first starting, sorry, our cat's jumping on the table.
No worries.
When you're first starting, you got to hold onto your wallet and go, what can I find like you have on YouTube? What videos can I find that can help me with building my Kickstarter campaign, or building my social media, or learning about protecting my intellectual property? What can I learn on my own? What can I spend your time is valuable, but in the beginning you have like zero money. So you've got, unless you have daddy's big bank account, which a lot of us don't have.
Right.
But you've got to just be resourceful. So we're really lucky that Brian, who does websites, has built us a $40,000 website and can maintain it. So if we did a deal with a shark, we wouldn't necessarily need to go hire somebody to go do our website, because we are savvy and have that, together. So learning all these little skills, like sending out a newsletter system or creating your own social media videos, like all that stuff, it's good to do on your own so that you see how hard it is or how easy it is. And then when people come at you and want your money, you go, yes, I have no idea how to do this. I've tried, not working. Here's your $5,000.
If I knew you, David, if I knew you if I met you a year ago, 2 years ago, you'd be working for me. I'd be hiring you.
Well, and that's a great point, because I interviewed this person. She was on Shark Tank to be's my interviewer in next month, but she talked about, which blew me away, that she spent $1 million. Her and her, I think, father-in-law spent $1 million on their product, and pretty much we're at like the kind of the same stage. You guys were probably further along than she was, but she spent $1 million. But again, it was people to, hey, saying I can help you sell this thing or market it, and just kind of writing checks left and right, and nothing was happening. Then, $1 million later, I mean, I don't know. That was very frustrating for me, just because if I did something like that as an attorney, I'd lose my law license. But you have people who can do that and just kind of walk away and kind of scot-free without any reprimand. That's unfortunate, but I mean, I think that's a great point that you're making, Kristina, because that happens a lot.
Yes. Yeah. It's the money's quick to go out.
Hold on to your wallet.
Right. Hold on. I like that one. Hold on to your wallet. Then I guess the last question is maybe the most important question. How can people follow you guys? And then how can people, more importantly, purchase the product?
Sure. So on every platform that pops up, we're like, we've got to reserve Frame Your Feline. So even at Lemonade, we're at Frame Your Feline, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and some of our social media stuff we need to work on. And that's what we're talking to some people about, up-leveling some of that.
On OnlyFans, we are... Oh, no.
Say wrong channel, cut it.
Wrong show.
Well, I mean, again, they're saying that they're showing feet on OnlyFans, so maybe you can show the cat's paws and kind of maybe make something out of it.
I like your thinking. You're hired, David. You're hired.
What do you think, Skippy?
This
is Skippy. He was on Shark Tank. He was one of our cats.
Yeah. So hold on. So you had a couple different cats on Shark Tank, or was it just one?
No, we had 3, and then we had our son dressed as a cat, who unfortunately that was edited out.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't recall seeing that one.
He paraded down the hallway with a sign that said,
"No more ugly carpeted cat trees." And
behind him were the 3 cat ladies with their cats. So this is Skippy, who was a homeless cat that showed up in our community, and we got him fixed up. We tried to find his owners. He wasn't fixed. He hadn't had anything. So we wanted a regular cat, and he's a tuxedo cat. And then we had one of the ladies who was on, the woman who carried Skippy, actually, she adopted a cat through a rescue that we fostered with. We fostered a cat. This lady had cancer. She's since passed away. And that girl with the braids who carried Skippy, Sarah, she adopted from us. And then Gabby, who had the short hair, her cat Tahoe was on set at Tahoe the cat. And they have the 1.0 version, and they're getting the 2.0 version. And then Summer was the celebrity cat at Summer's Travels. And she's done ad campaigns. She's been in some movies. She's a therapy cat. She goes and like dementia patients better.
David, Summer, the cat, has a bigger following than you and I could ever have, ever. Okay.
And again, as Kristina was talking about celebrity cat, and kind of, it's like, man, this is, who would have thought, particularly with Instagram and TikTok and these social media platforms, that cats would become the star of the show. But it seems like that's what happened ultimately.
Yeah. Oh, before we go, I have to make sure people know our website.
Yes.
Okay. Yep.
Go to frameyourfeline.com. That is frameyourfeline.com. And you will see cats in frames. You can order one for yourself and watch the art come alive.
Perfect. And again, I will put all those handles in the website when the interview comes out in the description, so that people can go purchase the frame, as well as the different accessories, the artwork behind the frame. And like you said, go check out the cats in the frames on the website. Well, audience, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. This was definitely a fun one. They gave us a lot of nuggets, a lot of jewels. I love that. Hold on to your wallet. That's gonna be something that sticks with me, because especially as you're starting out on this entrepreneurial journey. They started coming out the woodworks. They talked about it. As soon as they were on Shark Tank, you had people calling left and right, offering their different services. I understand that sometimes you have to kind of delegate, especially if it's an expertise, but you have to hold your wallet in doing that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this one, and I will see you next time on the next episode. Take care.
Bye.